as long as you act responsibly, you're free to do whatever you like within certain boundaries. And I think this is the system that will cover, or how we do it in Stavanger in my botanic garden. I'll just briefly brag about the garden. So Stavanger Botanic Garden is a rather small garden. It's situated here on the southwest coast of Norway. It's a municipal garden. We've developed 8 hectares. And there are currently 4 employees. So it's me as curator, and then there are a manager / head gardener and 2 gardeners. And some of our specialties, it was developed as a demonstration garden for herbs and as a kitchen garden, so that was the oldest part. We have a perennial garden with rock plants as well, and then a geographic garden where we display plants from other regions of the world with a similar climate. So, but the important part, I think, is that we're only 4 people, and of the 4 people, just 2 of us work actively in IrisBG. And I guess the biggest task, at least at this time of year, is all the incoming seed bags from all the other botanic gardens around the world. So this is where we share responsibility and then work together, me and my colleague Jennifer. And when I arrived in the garden in 2010, I had previously worked in Oslo. I was a PhD student in the Oslo Botanic Garden, and I worked in Iris there. But my predecessor, he was the one who then introduced IrisBG to Stavanger Botanic Garden, and I guess he needed to control the logging of data in the beginning, so he was he was alone working in Iris. And then he left, and I arrived 3 months later, so there was a gap there with no one doing anything with the data, and the result was a double bookkeeping. So our head gardener, who received all these seeds, she wasn't allowed to work in IrisBG, and the result was her paper lists and her own accession numbering, really. And what you'll see too is that I refer to these as the JB series. And I would come out in the garden and find these little white labels with a number there, and I would have to look up in this binder, flip through everything, then find the index emblem that provided the original data, and it's just a complete mess. It has taken so much time trying to figure all this out. And then also backtracking all this, so you'll see I've labeled some of the numbers to sort of keep track of what we've actually accessioned. Some of these plants never made it out in the garden, and they never, they might not have been germinated at all, but it's surely a situation you don't want. So something had to be done. So she was granted permission then to accession, of course, and I had to. I taught her how to do it, and we're working in sort of collaboration. But I rely on her to do it responsibly, and it's made her life easier. It's made my life easier, and we're both happy with this. So the reason, or the way we do it, is as long as she'll find the taxon or the taxon name in the pull-down list, if it's in the taxon database, she can accession it. And then anything that's not in the on the pull-down list, she'll put in a separate pile, and that goes into my tray, and I'll deal with that. And it's a fairly easy system as long as she doesn't try to do anything else. Wow. I guess this is where the different background comes in. I don't try to tell her how to germinate the plants. But if you, I don't know if you can see it, but there's, we inherited a list from Oslo, and people have been working on the taxon database at various stages. So currently, if she tries to accession of Pulsatilla grandis, it'll go in as a Pulsatilla, whereas if she tries the Pulsatilla montana, it'll come out as Anemone montana. So the whole, I still have to do some work after she's done this. So the whole, whether to call it Pulsatilla or an Anemone, that goes to my desk, and she stays away from the taxonomy part, my responsibility. And to us that works fairly well. I asked her before leaving Stavanger too whether she thought this was a good situation or not, and she was like, it's easy. I get a lot of it done, and then I can quickly take it from the post box and then into the seed room to germinate if I can do this, and then I leave just a little pile for you to work with. And to me it also reduces the amount of work that I do or have to do, because I have a backlog from the previous years before we started this. The other situation where we do share responsibility right now is in the item record keeping still within the accession database. And here is the situation where I think we have room for improvement, because there are always, it's easy with the seeds when we get them, because you always keep them for a while before you germinate them. I've had a harder time accessioning all the bulbs that come in, and maybe when we have live plants coming in, because they need to go out in the garden so fast that it's sometimes forgotten that they need to be accessioned. So I do have a bit of running after people asking how to do this. And when it comes to the whole items, I would like a situation where the gardeners actually do provide this kind of data when they've planted it, put the plants out in the garden, that it then is updated in the database. And currently we're not at a stage where this is automatic. Sometimes it's done, sometimes it'll be put down on a list and then to be added into the database at a later stage, and sometimes it's just completely forgotten. So there's still a bit of me running around tracing the job, and I think there's a big room for improvement here, and I look forward to hearing the feedback of how people do it in different gardens. And then finally, she was already an administrator in IrisBG when I arrived, and we're currently 2 administrators, and I haven't seen any reason to strip her of the privilege, in a sense. So she can access and do anything really, but she doesn't. I think it has to do with feeling confident in using a lot of these other things. So mostly she'll let me deal with the management and the definitions and all these things. But I think whatever she does, I don't have to spend time doing. So I think it's a situation where we both feel free to do within the responsibility boundaries of our jobs. And that was it.